At the beginning of the 18th century, the Atlantic Ocean was the center of a vast global trade network. Ships crossed the ocean constantly, carrying goods between Europe, Africa, and the Americas. Sugar, tobacco, cotton, and spices moved across the sea in enormous quantities. But the most profitable trade of all was something darker. Slave ships transported thousands of enslaved Africans across the Atlantic every year. The trade generated enormous wealth for merchants and ship owners. One of those ships was the Whydah Gally. The vessel had been built in London in 1715. It was designed specifically for the transatlantic slave trade and was named after the West African port of Whydah, one of the major slave trading centers at the time. The ship was large, fast, and heavily armed. It could carry cargo worth a fortune. The Whydah quickly became a valuable asset to its owners. After leaving England, the ship sailed to the coast of Africa where enslaved people were forced aboard. From there it crossed the Atlantic toward the Caribbean. Once the enslaved cargo was sold, the ship filled its hold with valuable goods such as sugar, indigo, and precious metals. Then it would return to Europe. Each voyage could generate enormous profit. But in early 1717, during one of those voyages, the Whydah encountered something far more dangerous than storms or disease. It encountered pirates. The pirate who captured the Whydah was not yet famous. His name was Samuel Bellamy. Bellamy had not always been a pirate. Originally, he had been an ordinary sailor working aboard merchant ships. Like many sailors of his time, he lived a hard life. Pay was low. Conditions were brutal, and captains ruled their ships with absolute authority. But the early 1700s were also the beginning of what historians now call the Golden Age of Piracy. Across the Caribbean and the Atlantic, pirates began attacking merchant ships carrying valuable cargo. Unlike naval vessels or merchant ships, pirate crews often operated under a very different system. Many pirate crews shared treasure equally among the crew. Captains were often elected, and the promise of wealth attracted sailors who were tired of the harsh conditions aboard merchant ships. Bellamy joined a pirate crew around 1716. Within a short time, he proved himself to be an extremely capable leader. He was bold, intelligent, and respected by his crew. Eventually, Bellamy became captain of his own pirate ship, and once he had a ship under his command, his success came quickly. Merchant ships were often poorly defended. Within months, Bellamy and his crew captured numerous vessels. They seized cargo, coins, weapons, and goods from ships travelling through the Caribbean. But Bellamy wanted something bigger. He wanted a ship powerful enough to dominate the sea. In February of 1717, he found it. The target was the slave ship Whydah. The pirate attack was fast and decisive. Bellamy's crew boarded the vessel and quickly overwhelmed the ship's defences. The Whydah was captured, and instead of destroying the ship, Bellamy made a decision that would change everything. He turned the Whydah into a pirate flagship. When Samuel Bellamy captured the Whydah Gally in early 1717, he immediately understood the value of the ship. Unlike the small pirate sloops many pirates used, the Whydah was a powerful vessel. It was large, it was fast, and it was already equipped with cannons. Bellamy made the decision to convert a captured slave ship into his new flagship. The crew removed the slave pens that had been built inside the ship's hold. In their place, the pirates stored weapons, ammunition, and the growing collection of treasure they had taken from captured vessels. The ship was also armed with additional cannons. By some estimates, the Whydah eventually carried more than 28 guns, making it one of the most heavily armed pirate ships of the time. But the ship itself was only part of the story. The real strength of Bellamy's operation was his crew. Unlike the rigid hierarchy of naval ships, pirate crews often operated under a system that was surprisingly democratic. Crew members voted on important decisions. Treasure was divided according to rules agreed upon by the crew, and captains could be removed if the crew lost confidence in their leadership. Bellamy quickly gained a reputation as a captain who treated his crew fairly. That reputation attracted experienced sailors who were willing to join his growing fleet. Within a short time, Bellamy commanded not just one ship, but several vessels working together. Together they formed a powerful pirate force operating throughout the Caribbean. And wherever they sailed, merchant ships became their targets. With the Whydah as his flagship, Bellamy's pirate career entered its most successful phase. The Caribbean and Atlantic shipping routes were full of vulnerable merchant vessels. Many of these ships carried valuable cargo, but had very little protection. Pirate ships were faster and more aggressive. When a pirate ship approached, many merchant crews surrendered without a fight. Bellamy's fleet captured ship after ship. Every successful attack added more wealth to the Whydah. Gold coins, silver coins, jewelry, silk, precious metals, and cargo taken from wealthy merchants travelling between continents. In only a few months, Bellamy captured dozens of ships. Some historians estimate that his fleet seized more than 50 vessels during this short period. That made Bellamy one of the most successful pirates of the entire Golden Age of Piracy. But success also created a new problem. The more ships Bellamy captured, the more treasure accumulated inside the Whydah. The ship's hold slowly filled with wealth. Gold coins taken from Spanish ships, silver coins from European merchants, jewelry and valuable goods seized from passengers. The pirates even captured entire chests filled with precious metals. By early 1717, the Whydah was carrying an enormous amount of treasure. Some estimates suggest that the value of the cargo on board would equal hundreds of millions of dollars today. But Bellamy was not planning to keep sailing forever. After months of piracy, he decided to change course. The pirate fleet would sail north, toward the American colonies. Bellamy had a reason for going there. He planned to return to the coast near Cape Cod, but before he could reach land, the Atlantic Ocean would turn against him, and the storm that followed would end one of the most successful pirate careers in history. By the spring of 1717, Samuel Bellamy had achieved something very few pirates ever managed. In only a few months, he had captured dozens of ships and assembled a fortune. His flagship, the Whydah Gally, now carried treasure taken from across the Caribbean and the Atlantic. But Bellamy was not planning to remain in the Caribbean forever. Instead, he decided to sail north along the American coastline. Historians believe he had several possible reasons. One theory suggests Bellamy intended to divide the treasure and allow some of his crew to leave piracy. Another possibility is that Bellamy planned to return to the American colonies where he had once lived. Some stories even suggest he hoped to reunite with a woman he had known before becoming a pirate. Whatever the reason, the pirate fleet began moving northward along the Atlantic coast. As they sailed, Bellamy's ships continued capturing smaller merchant vessels. Every new capture added more cargo and more coins to the already crowded hold of the Whydah. But the further north the pirates travelled, the more dangerous the ocean became. Spring storms along the North Atlantic coast were unpredictable and violent. Large waves could appear suddenly. Strong winds could drive ships toward shallow coastal waters. Experienced captains feared these storms almost as much as naval warships. And in April of 1717, the pirates would encounter one of the worst storms imaginable. In the early hours of April 26, 1717, the weather off the coast of Cape Cod began to change. Dark clouds gathered over the Atlantic. Winds grew stronger. The waves began rising higher and higher. The pirate ships sailing with the Whydah struggled to maintain control. The heavy cargo inside the pirate flagship made the situation even more dangerous. The ship was loaded with treasure taken from dozens of captured vessels. Gold coins, silver coins, jewelry, Precious metals, all of it stored deep inside the ship's hold. As the storm intensified, visibility dropped. The night became nearly impossible to navigate. The crew of the Whydah tried to keep the ship under control, but the wind pushed the vessel toward the shallow waters near Cape Cod. Suddenly, disaster struck. The Whydah slammed into a sandbar just offshore. The impact was catastrophic. Huge waves smashed against the ship's hull. The powerful storm quickly tore the vessel apart. Within minutes, the pirate flagship began breaking into pieces. Crew members were thrown into the freezing Atlantic waters. Many never had a chance to reach shore. Nearly the entire pirate crew perished in the wreck. And among those who died that night was Captain Samuel Bellamy himself. The treasure that had been collected during months of piracy disappeared beneath the waves. Gold coins, silver coins, jewellery, all of it sank into the ocean along with the shattered remains of the ship. By morning, the storm had passed, but the Whydah was gone, and with it, one of the largest pirate fortunes ever assembled. For the next 2.5 centuries, the exact location of the wreck would remain a mystery. When the storm ended on the morning of April 27, 1717, the coast of Cape Cod was scattered with wreckage. Broken pieces of wood, fragments of cargo, and bodies of sailors who had not survived the storm. Local residents quickly realised that a large ship had been destroyed during the night. Some survivors managed to reach shore, and from their accounts people learned that the wreck belonged to a pirate ship. But the most important part of the story remained hidden beneath the water. The treasure. The Whydah Gally had carried an enormous amount of wealth collected during months of piracy. Gold coins from Spanish ships, silver coins from European merchants, jewellery taken from captured passengers, chests of precious metals. All of it had been inside the ship's hold when the vessel struck the sandbar. When the ship broke apart in the storm, the treasure sank with it. Some coins and small pieces of cargo washed ashore in the days after the wreck. Local residents recovered what they could from the beach, but the majority of the treasure remained beneath the ocean, and the conditions along the Cape Cod coastline made recovery almost impossible. Strong currents constantly shifted the sand along the seabed. Storms repeatedly buried the wreck deeper. Within a short time, the remains of the pirate ship disappeared completely beneath layers of sand. Over the years, the story of the wreck became a local legend. People knew that somewhere off the coast lay a pirate ship filled with treasure, but no one knew exactly where. And without modern diving technology, reaching the wreck would have been nearly impossible anyway. For more than 250 years, the ocean kept the secret. The location of the Whydah remained hidden until the 20th century, when a new generation of treasure hunters began searching for the lost pirate ship. In the late 20th century, interest in historical shipwrecks began to grow. New diving equipment and underwater technology made it possible to explore areas of the ocean that had once been unreachable. Among the people fascinated by the story of the Whydah was an underwater explorer named Barry Clifford. Clifford had grown up hearing stories about the pirate ship that had sunk off Cape Cod. But unlike earlier treasure hunters, he believed the wreck could still be found. Instead of relying only on legends, Clifford began studying historical records. He examined old maps. He researched weather reports from the time of the storm, and he analysed eyewitness accounts from survivors of the wreck. From this research, Clifford developed a theory about where the pirate ship might be buried beneath the sand. But the search would not be easy. The waters off Cape Cod are cold, rough, and unpredictable. Storms constantly reshape the seabed. Even if the wreck still existed, it could be buried deep beneath layers of sand. For years, Clifford and his team searched the ocean floor using metal detectors and diving equipment. The work was slow and exhausting, but eventually, their persistence paid off. In 1984, Clifford's team detected a powerful signal beneath the sand. When divers began digging, they uncovered something extraordinary. A small bell. The bell was made of bronze, and engraved into its surface were 2 words, the Whydah. At that moment, the team realized they had found the wreck of the pirate flagship. For the first time in more than 2.5 centuries, the lost pirate ship had been located, and somewhere beneath the sand surrounding the wreck, the treasure of Black Sam Bellamy was still waiting. After the discovery of the bell from the Whydah Gally in 1984, the search team led by Barry Clifford realized they had located something far more important than just another shipwreck. They had found the remains of a pirate flagship, and possibly the only confirmed pirate shipwreck ever discovered from the Golden Age of Piracy. But finding the wreck was only the beginning. The real challenge was recovering what lay beneath the sand. The wreck site was located in relatively shallow water, but the conditions were extremely difficult. Powerful currents constantly moved the sand across the seabed. Storms could bury the wreck deeper overnight. Divers had to work slowly and carefully, removing layers of sand while trying to preserve fragile historical artifacts. Almost immediately, the team began finding objects connected to life aboard the pirate ship. Cannons, pistols, navigation instruments, pieces of the ship's structure. Then something even more exciting appeared. Coins. Small silver coins began emerging from the sand. Some came from Spanish mints. Others were minted in Europe or the Americas. Each coin was a direct link to the ship's Bellamy, and his crew had captured during their pirate raids. As the excavation continued, the number of artifacts grew rapidly. Gold coins were recovered, silver coins, jewelry, weapons, thousands of objects that had remained buried beneath the sand for more than 2 centuries. Every discovery confirmed that the Whydah had indeed carried a large pirate fortune. But archaeologists soon realized something else. The majority of the wreck was still buried. Only a small portion of the ship had been uncovered. Large sections of the hull remained hidden beneath the sand. And inside those buried sections, even more treasure could still be waiting. Estimating the value of the treasure carried by the Whydah has always been difficult. Unlike official cargo ships, pirate vessels rarely kept detailed records. The treasure aboard the Whydah came from dozens of captured ships. Each raid added new coins, precious metals, and valuable goods to the pirate hold. Historical accounts suggest that when the ship sank in 1717, it may have been carrying treasure taken from more than 50 captured vessels. That means the cargo could have included coins from multiple countries and empires. Spanish gold, Portuguese coins, silver pieces of 8, jewelry, and trade goods. Over the decades since the wreck was discovered, archaeologists and divers have recovered thousands of artifacts from the site. Many of these items are now preserved and displayed in museums, but experts believe that a large portion of the wreck remains buried beneath the sand. The shifting seabed along the Cape Cod coast constantly covers and uncovers parts of the ship. Each major storm can change the landscape of the wreck site. That means new discoveries are still possible. Some researchers estimate that the total treasure associated with the Whydah could reach hundreds of millions of dollars. Others believe that if the entire cargo were recovered, the value might approach $1 billion. Even after more than 3 centuries, the pirate treasure of Samuel Bellamy may not have revealed all of its secrets. And somewhere beneath the sands of the Atlantic Ocean, more of that lost fortune could still be waiting to be discovered. More than 300 years have passed since the night the pirate flagship Whydah Gally disappeared beneath the stormy waters off Cape Cod. The wreck has been discovered. Thousands of artifacts have been recovered. Gold coins, silver coins, weapons, and personal belongings from the crew of Samuel Bellamy have been brought back to the surface. The ship is now recognised as the first fully authenticated pirate shipwreck ever discovered from the Golden Age of Piracy. But even after decades of excavation, the full story of the Whydah may still be incomplete. The ocean floor off Cape Cod is constantly changing. Storms move enormous amounts of sand across the seabed. One year, parts of the wreck may be exposed. The next year, the same sections may be buried again under several feet of sand. This shifting landscape makes archaeological work extremely difficult. Divers cannot simply remove everything at once. Each excavation must be done slowly and carefully to preserve the fragile remains of the ship. As a result, large sections of the wreck remain unexplored, and somewhere within those buried sections could still lie chests of coins and other treasure that went down with the ship in 1717. Over the years, thousands of artifacts have been recovered. Yet archaeologists believe that the majority of the ship's cargo may still remain beneath the sand. If that is true, the treasure of the Whydah is far from fully recovered. Some estimates suggest that the value of all the treasure originally carried by the pirate ship could reach hundreds of millions of dollars in modern terms. Others believe the total value of the unrecovered treasure could be even higher. But for archaeologists, the real value of the wreck is not just the gold. The Whydah provides a rare and detailed look into the real lives of pirates during one of the most famous periods of maritime history. Every artifact tells a story. A coin recovered from the seabed may have passed through the hands of merchants, sailors, or pirates centuries ago. A weapon found in the wreck may have been used during a pirate raid somewhere in the Caribbean. Each discovery adds another piece to the puzzle of what happened aboard the Whydah during its final voyage. And yet the most intriguing question remains unanswered. After more than 3 centuries, how much of the pirate treasure still lies hidden beneath the shifting sands of the Atlantic Ocean? Is the treasure of the Whydah already exhausted? Or is part of the pirate fortune of Samuel Bellamy still waiting to be discovered somewhere beneath the sea?